Hi, it's a Lipstick Gal. Thank you so much for watching today. I'm getting ready using some new products. One of them is the Prada Foundation. I haven't tried this yet, so excited. Also really excited to try this Etendu palette from Viseart. This is the Paris Reverie palette. Look, ooh, look how pretty these are. Oh, lovely. The other product I have is this new one from Natasha Denona. This is the what is it? The Skincare Infused Glowing Beautifier. This is in their light shade. This is 01 Light. And what's interesting is I'm reading like the box here. The box says, use after your morning skincare routine across the entire face using a face brush for a no makeup look. Okay, we'll try that. And then you can, for maximum payoff, use as a highlight on top of your makeup base and apply with your finger. So they want you to put this on everywhere with the brush. Okay. I kind of feel like this is dangerous territory, but we'll start light. This is a white goat hair brush from Wayne Goss. It says number 12. Just gonna, oh, cross your fingers, hold your breath. Here we go. I kind of feel like, am I really getting anything on there? Oh yeah, there it is. This is supposed to hydrate your face, and it's also supposed to like minimize the look of pores. I don't know. I know that there are a lot of really interesting blurring capabilities that are built into makeup these days. I definitely feel like there is glow coming, but I'm wondering if it's going to highlight like these lines here in my forehead and make them more visible, as opposed to kind of yeah, oh, whoa, danger. I feel like I'm at that place now where there's a lot of glow on my face. My forehead is not being played to advantage here, and I'm trying to buff it in. I don't know. Maybe this is the product that I need to think of as like highlight and not necessarily, you know, like all over glow. Because although it's really pretty here, I'm looking in the monitor and then I'm looking in the mirror and it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't necessarily feel like it's doing good things for my face. I feel like it's really accentuating like my forehead lines. I feel like my pores are more visible now. And then also right here, it really kind of accentuates the fine lines. Okay, I could be wrong, but that's how I feel. All right, but that's how they say to use it. So we'll see. Maybe it's gonna look great underneath foundation. So I have not yet tried this. I don't know if I need to shake it. Oh, the rattling is coming from how it's in here. I'm gonna start out with one pump on my little palette. Let's see how far one pump gets us. I'm just gonna buff this in with a rougher brush. This is the B02. I'm gonna keep the brush application to one side and I wanna do a damp sponge on the other. After blending it in with a brush on this side, I like the fact that it's kind of like a lightweight medium coverage. It doesn't look heavy. I don't really kind of seeing it settle anywhere. I'm curious to see what it's gonna look like with the damp sponge. So let's give ourselves another pump and see what happens. I'm gonna dot this on my face because inevitably my sponge picks up a lot of stuff. All right, I'm looking in a mirror that I have right here on my desk, like up close, and I feel like it's less noticeable as foundation on the side with the sponge than it is on the side with the brush. It doesn't look bad with a brush, but I feel like it looks like it's been kind of pushed into the skin. That kind of sounds bad, but like it's become one with the skin more on this side. So I'm gonna take a minute to go over the brush side. I think it's always nice for me to kind of figure out, you know, this formula I like better with the brush, this formula I like better with the sponge, this one I feel like needs fingers, to really figure out how I want things to apply to their best advantage. I really feel like this foundation looks its best on my skin texture with a damp sponge. And that's not to say that the foundation brush, that I was using, is bad. I actually really love this foundation brush. This is new from Refer. It's made specifically for liquids and creams. And I feel like this is a good job, but I feel like this formulation, I've got a rogue cat here on my face, and I feel like this foundation does really beautifully with a sponge, where it looks like it's just kind of one with the skin. Where on the side before I kind of tapped over it, you know, with the sponge, it was feeling kind of like it wasn't as seamless And that's always what I'm looking for. Making expressions here in the mirror. I don't really see it catching anywhere yet, and I do feel like this is a really good shade match. I'm gonna take a minute to finish up the rest of my face to a point where we can play in that new Viseart palette. I'll be back. I already have my blush on, and I was using a combination of this new kind of glowing blush from Rare Beauty. I have it in the shade Cheer. It looks like this. That's where a little bit of this metallic sheen is coming from, and I also paired it with my Gucci blush in, I think this is Beige Nude or Rosy Beige. Okay, Rosy Beige, 05. And this says you can use it with your fingers as a highlight. So let's do that. Oh, look at that. That's very frosty. I'm wondering, it looks chunky. Okay, so I'm going to place with one finger, blend with the other. Man, I don't know. This formula may not be for me. And she's expensive, $48. This is not, in my opinion, beautifying my skin. And this is like the second time I've tried it. I feel like it's a little too much. This might be beautiful on my 14 and 16-year-olds because they're teenagers. Teenage skin is gorgeous. It's young, it's supple, it's, you know, usually in pretty good condition. I'm not living for this. I don't know. I didn't like it all over, and I don't think it's the best highlight I have for my 49-year-old skin. Let's move on to this. Okay, so I really wasn't planning on picking this up at all. And then on a whim, I was like, well, let's see. So this is a new palette they just released. I feel like these shades are something we see a lot from Viseart, but these are the sort of shades that work for me because this is the darkest one we have here. This is the lightest one we have here. We have a mix of mattes and metallics, but the minute things get too dark or too light or too high contrast, on my fair skin, I just look like a crazy person. So this kind of softer overall color story works really well. I like that we do have that mix of warm and cool, you know, more cool on this side, warm on this side, and I think I'm gonna dip equally into both. I'm gonna start with this matte here, and I am just gonna sweep that in through the crease. I feel like I skip a fair amount of Viseart quads that are too dark. I know they have some beautiful 8-pan palettes, like the London one, the San Francisco one, the Paris night one, and I can't because there's too many dark shades that I know, first of all, I wouldn't use, and then like a blue or a dark green color story is just not something I'm gonna reach for. It just ends up looking really too high contrast on my skin. And I always want something that is going to enhance and not kind of detract. Sometimes if I'm wearing something that is a little too much, it either makes me look older or like I'm trying too hard. And I don't want either of those things. I'm going to use that same shade on the lower lash line. And then I'm just going to take a clean brush and kind of really soften this line down here. I feel like that pencil brush really puts down a lot of pigment, but it's not as good. Like the difference between this side and this side, again, too much contrast. This is what I'm looking for. And I have gotten really lazy about taking a clean brush and blending, or a damp sponge and blending if I'm using cream or liquid products. And I used to do that all the time. And then last week, Lisa Eldridge posted a video about how, you know, the difference that it makes and how it makes it look like a pro makeup did your makeup. I was like, okay, yeah, I should do it more often. And it's not as if it's a new idea to me, and I've been doing it for a long time. I got out of the habit. So if you ever feel like you have too much blush on, sometimes all it takes is a clean brush, just kind of going over the top, you know, something that doesn't have anything on it, and just kind of buffing, because then that will pick up as well as kind of soften the edges. Such a great way to kind of make things work a little bit better. So I'm going to blend a little bit here, and I'm going to move on. I think I'm going to lean into this kind of more lavender shade down here. It's another matte, and I'm just going to give myself a little bit more of this purple. I wouldn't really call it purple, more of like a lavender look. Look how pretty that is. I love these spring tones, these kind of pastel, kind of soft, not too much sort of shades, and I feel like Man, the difference that that little bit of lavender makes so pretty, so pretty. I'm gonna take a really wispy brush and I'm gonna go into this lightest matte here, and I'm just gonna kind of make sure to hit the edge right between my brow bone. I'm really not wanting to put color down, but just to blend anything that might need some blending. I'm gonna go for this one. I normally be like, look at the peaches, look at the nudes. Let's do this. Wow, that's pretty. Now I'm gonna use my finger on the other side. That's usually what gets me to that point of no purples, no blues. It's just the high contrast. Boy, definitely more pigment with the finger. I was using this brush to apply. I wiped the majority off of it, and here's where I'm gonna take a minute to kind of blend this into the rest of what's going on. I know it's kind of like in the crease, and everyone's like, don't put shimmer in the crease. I kind of don't care. Actually, I don't mind shimmer in the crease. All right, now I'm gonna use this shade right here. Should I use this on a brush? Let's do a brush. I was like, let's just use our finger, which I regularly do, but let's see what happens when we pick it up and place it right here. Okay, different brush, I'm getting a totally different application, which I like. So I'm using kind of like a flat packing brush, it's not very fat, it's skinny, but like a packing brush, and that is giving me a completely different look. But I am gonna kind of right here, where we get up towards the crease, kind of blend away some of the excess. I don't know if this is a good idea. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm picking up a little bit of this kind of soft peachy shade here and just kind of running it through the crease. I feel like it might need just a little bit of warmth. I think I'm going to leave it here. I can't wait to play on this side because like this is what they look like. Aren't those just gorgeous? And then there's two mattes on this side. The other side, this cooler side, has 4 mattes and 2 shimmers, but I feel like these colors go really well together. Okay, did I need this? No. Do I feel like it's something I'm going to reach for this spring? Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that these are, you know, kind of slightly watercolor versions of these tones. You like this peach color, these guys here, they're so light. Same with these kind of, you know, violety shades here. The browns are not too deep. And for someone with fair skin, these are the sorts of tones that I need that give me that spring vibe, because I've got kind of like this pretty kind of peachy but mostly lavender eye going on. And it was really easy to do, but I don't feel like it's overwhelming. I'm gonna finish this look up with liner, mascara, lipstick, and I'll be right back. Here are the swatches for the eyeshadow palette. There is one right here. It's a very pale kind of pinky shade. There's also this peach one here, which I feel like you can see a little bit better. This is that light lavender shade that I didn't use, but this is the one I have all over my lid. I think it's really pretty. Here are the other 4 shades. This one is so pretty, but I used this one. I didn't use the brown this time, and I'm kind of like, wait, who am I? But they've got a really pretty bronze. I feel like it's a really nice mix of warm and cool, but I feel like with this being our lightest shade here and this being our darkest shade, we're not necessarily getting a ton of contrast, which is why it works so well on my fair skin tone. I don't know what this would look like on richer skin tones, so that is something just to keep in mind. I know that they will be making some that I feel are kind of geared towards lighter skin tones. And there are definitely some that are punchier, more saturated shades that if I were to wear those, I would look like a clown. And that's not what I'm going for. Let's take a look at how this kind of stacks up against some other palettes that kind of evoke these feelings. Here is the new Reverie palette, and it kind of really made me think of this one. This one is the Cashmere palette. This is the one that has this kind of autumnal exterior packaging on it, but I feel like we do have, you know, some kind of more berry tones here, and here they tend to lean a little bit more lavender. And we do have some like warmer tones in through this side, and over here they're not quite the same. But I feel like if you like this one, you would probably like this one, but only if you have fair skin, because I feel like the Cashmere palette does have more depth to it. So of course this new palette made me check the Cashmere Charmeuse. This was released this fall, and I feel like they're not really that similar. There might be a couple of shades in here that are similar, but this gives a very different, slightly moodier sort of vibe to it, especially with this duochrome shade here. This is also a duochrome. This looks more straightforward, you know, light, springy, I feel like this is definitely more of your neutral fall palette with some interesting colors, and this is the same but your spring palette. These lavender tones in here made me pull out this. This is the Violette Vespertine, and the Vespertine definitely has cooler tones overall. And then through there, I feel like we don't have a lot of overlap. There might be a few in the matte shades, like this shade right here is similar to this shade right here. I feel like it's not identical, but I feel like we could have some overlaps here. But I feel like the tone of this palette is definitely more soft purple leaning, where if anything, this is a little bit more soft lavender. I also pulled out the Paris Edit because I know this has some peaches. It also has some kind of pinky tones in there. I feel like kind of, but not really. I feel like this dark gray down here takes it to a completely different place. And this has more of like a berry warmth to it, where this is definitely more brown. I feel like, you know, yeah, they are akin, but they're more like, you know, second cousins and not like siblings or first cousins. I pulled out the Solstice palette here because it does have some of these warmer kind of toasty tones down here that remind me of some of these metallics in through here. There is that dark brown. Boy, they're kind of similar. This one here is a little bit cooler, but this is definitely more a decidedly peach palette, this Midsummer palette. But this has got some similar shades. They're only just less saturated. And I think that if that's what you're looking for, you would like this. Here is the Midsummer palette. And I feel like this here has a lot of similarity to it. Like this shade kind of reminds me of this one up here. We've got some kind of purpley taupey tones. You know, there is kind of more of a decided pink tone here, but I feel like the ones, like if you were to cover up these two here, that the other 6 in this palette really do kind of evoke the feeling of this. I don't know that if you already have the Midsummer palette that you would want to pick this up. All right, here's the Praline Pedophore. Not really. Maybe this guy here and this guy here. Maybe. Here is the Framboise palette. Ooh, the only thing I think of right here is this kind of peachy matte shade here is very similar in tone to this one. Other than that, maybe kind of like this shade here is maybe like this one. I don't think that there's a lot of similarities between these. This is the Lavande palette, and I pulled it out because I was thinking of this kind of pastel-y lavender shade. You see how they're similar, but I feel like this one here is a little bit, I don't know, brighter. The tones are similar, but this one has a little bit more, I don't know if it's gray or a little touch of brown to it. It's not quite the same. This one looks like it's a little bit more of a lighter, brighter shade, even though they're remarkably close. Here's the Lilas Dew. Maybe this shade here and this shade here. No, this one's a little grayer. I don't know. I feel like this has similar vibes to this, but what you're getting here is this kind of pewter shade that you're not getting in this palette. But I feel like the other tones in here could give you a very similar look to this. I feel like it's the mattes in this one that kind of feel the same. This is the new Isolde Pedophore. Yeah. I love this one, and I think that's why I know I'm going to love this one as well. Here's another new one. This one here is the Hesperides. I feel like, again, it's like these two shades here are kind of similar. These two shades here are kind of similar. I feel like we do have some similarities, but it's the metallics in here that take it to a different place. Last one I wanted to check, this is the Praline Epicé. I don't know. I don't really feel like these are terribly similar. I feel like the metallics over here on this side are a little bit peachier, whereas this is really gold and this has more of a bronzy look to it. This one's much darker, this one's much peachier. They're very different. I feel like if you like the look of the Isolde or the Hesperides, or if you are a fan of the Cashmere or the Cashmere Charmeuse, I think you would like this new Reverie palette, the Paris Reverie. I love these 12 pan palettes. I like how skinny they are. I like how, you know, there's a mirror. Everything is in here magnetically, so if you want to rearrange it or take one shade and put it in a different palette, that's fantastic. And these guys are the same size as these, so you can mix and match between the Pedophores and the Etendu palettes. I really, really, really love Viseart. I love the quality, and this is on a, you know, an eye with no primer. I feel like the eyeshadow is going to be a huge hit for me this spring and probably summer to get really pretty looks. And this is definitely more colorful than I normally go for because I've been reaching for a lot of neutrals, a lot of browns, and this definitely takes me out of that area. And I think that's a good thing for me. Now, I like the way Little Miss Prada looks. I feel like it looks really good on the skin. It's not settling into my forehead lines. The one place where it doesn't look fantastic, and I'm noticing a lot of products don't look fantastic in this area. I didn't used to have a problem here, but it's like right here. And it's because I do this. And so I get a lot more movement right here in this area. And this area not only has like the wrinkles right in through here, it's also a little bit drier. So I don't know, this is kind of visible in this area where that is not true with some skin tints, but a lot of the rest of my foundations are starting to show up here where I never noticed them before. But I can't wait to keep wearing this. I want to wear this on a day when I'm not setting my full face because today I've got powder everywhere and powder products on top of that. But this little guy here, $48. Now, this is probably perfect for somebody who likes a super glowy look. I mean, it's a pretty look, but do you know how many times I had to go over it with a clean brush to kind of wipe it down? It was over the top, and I feel like I don't want to have to work that hard. Now, this all over my face with nothing else brought out all of my forehead texture, all of my pores, and this is supposed to help reduce the look of pores and, you know, make your skin look better. It just made me look like the Tin Man, and that is definitely not what I'm going for. I wouldn't recommend this if you have textured skin, if you have mature skin, if you're trying to minimize as opposed to draw attention to, and even as just a highlight, although it is pretty, man, I had to work hard to get it to look like this. Just keep in mind, this is a first impression. And a first impression is simply, how did it go on day one? Without any actual wear time, more than just sitting here in front of the mirror and playing in new things. What does it feel like? What does it look like? I like the way this all turned out. And I feel like these two products here are going to be like the home run because I have a lot of this and I feel like this quality is identical to what I already have and the color story is beautiful. And I feel like this is already looking good, but is it going to wear well? The one thing I'm not sure about is this. So right now I'm not liking this, but what is going to happen in a couple of weeks? I want to make sure I'm able to return this if it's not for me within that 30-day window. So I'm going to have to keep trying it for the next couple of weeks. But I'm not holding my breath for this. I don't have high hopes. But there have been a lot of times that I've like said, no. And then I keep trying it. I'm like, you know, I changed my mind. Actually, I like it. And here's why. And it comes down to how I apply, what I apply it with. Everything changes the minute I figure it out. I don't know that I've figured this out yet, but it's also not inspiring me to keep reaching for it because it's not as pretty on the skin as I was hoping it would be. Here's where I want to know what's been catching your attention recently. What things are kind of calling to you? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm also going to leave everything I have on my face, the stuff that you saw me put on, plus the stuff you didn't see me put on, linked in the description box down below. Keep in mind those are affiliate links. You don't have to use them, but if you do, it does help to support my channel and I really appreciate it. Have a fantastic week. Let me know what is catching your eye in the comment section and I'll see you again soon.